Apple today announcing new artificial intelligence features that will likely impact you. We'll talk about it coming up on Business Matters. And good Monday afternoon. Thank you very much for being here with me. I'm your host, Don Ma. Appreciate it. The three major U.S. stock indexes today slightly higher, providing support to NASDAQ and S&P 500 was NASDAQ. Shares gained slightly for the session, of course, and this is after a 10-for-1 stock split. Now, Apple shares were down about 2% after the iPhone makers' annual developer conference. Up ahead for this week, very important. We have the CPI coming up as well. We're expected to get comments and messaging from the Federal Reserve, and we're going to be covering the consumer inflation data, which of course could also impact the Fed's rate decision. Okay, so let's talk more about that Apple conference. The company has welcomed Apple Intelligence to its lineup. So the tech giant unveiled this new AI tech at its annual Worldwide Developers Conference. Let's have a listen.
Introducing Apple Intelligence, the new personal intelligence system that makes your most personal products even more useful and delightful.
So this artificial intelligence technology, it's going to be integrated across its suite of apps, and it's going to be powered by its own server chips as well as its proprietary iPhone and other computer technology. The software aims to make Siri smarter by turning the feature into an AI chatbot or iPhone chatbot, if you will, to a sense. It showcased some of the new features, including generating a personalized birthday image. Users can also use Siri to directly send photos, for example, from a recent event or email meeting notes to a coworker, among a slew of other features. So now, with Apple Intelligence gathering all this information, the company stressed the importance of safety as well, noting that most of this is happening with on-device processing without collecting information.
When you make a request, Apple Intelligence uses its semantic index to identify the relevant personal data and feeds it to the generative model so they have the personal context to best assist you.
So what Apple is hoping for here is that this new AI push will help boost its iPhone sales. We'll just have to wait and see on that. So now, how will the new Apple features be received by consumers? Earlier, I spoke to Burton Kelso. He's the chief technology expert at Integral. Let's have a listen. Burton, thank you for your time today, this afternoon. So let's talk about this Apple event. I think maybe the star of the show today for Apple was its new AI features. And as we all know now, Apple Intelligence is what it's called. So to start, what's your overall impression of its capabilities? Impressed or not?
I'm very impressed with the capabilities of Apple AI, or I shouldn't even call it AI, Apple Intelligence, because Apple is owning the AI title. They're like, well, we're just not artificial intelligence. This is Apple Intelligence. And I think it's what everyone has expected how artificial intelligence should work. You've got device integration. You've got security that's built in with Apple Intelligence. And you even have the ability to use ChatGPT if you want to. And I think these are the things that people have talked about when it comes to generative AI is it secure? Is my data going to be encrypted? And why can't it generate the content on my device as opposed to me relying on a server that's in the cloud, a server that can potentially be hacked into?
Okay, so among all the features, which one impressed the most? So we have image creation using AI. We have integrated AI features between apps. I mean, tell me about it. Which one impressed you the most?
I think the AI integration between apps and devices is what impressed me the most, because, I mean, you even have AI image generation with Meta AI. So, I mean, that's all across the board. But what we don't have is the ability that if I'm on my iPhone, then I can get that AI image, or not image, but I can get that AI result on another device. And I think the way that Siri reacts and the things that you can do with Siri, with the Apple Intelligence, it's really incredible. I think Apple's on top of their game again.
Apple Intelligence is able to summarize your messages, your text messages. If there's a lot of people commenting on one thing, it'll be able to summarize it for you. The question is, are you able to trust Apple Intelligence completely to summarize the key points for you when potentially sometimes the stakes are high if it summarizes incorrectly?
Well, I think with Apple's track record, I would trust them more than I would with other companies, because Apple is coming, well, I wouldn't say late to the game, but they had a late start just for the simple fact that they want to fine tune the things that are going to be in Apple Intelligence. So I think they've waited a while because they want to release a perfect product. And so anything that Apple does at this point, especially with Apple Intelligence, I'm game, because I think it's going to work well and it's going to enhance the lives of everyone out there.
Okay, what do you think about, more specifically, because you mentioned this, what do you think about ChatGPT integration?
I think ChatGPT integration is a smart move. It works well for ChatGPT because ChatGPT was starting to lose ground because other companies were moving ahead with their generative AI. You've got Google Gemini that's integrated into Android devices. You've got Microsoft Copilot that is integrated into Windows devices. So it was a smart move for Apple to include Apple Intelligence for their device use, but then also giving you access to ChatGPT, which is hands down probably one of the best generative AI chatbots out there.
Thank you so much for your insight today. Burden, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And moving on to Europe, something big here. The euro is down and French markets have fallen. Investors rattled over President Emmanuel Macron's surprise decision to dissolve the French parliament and call for a snap parliamentary election. And this comes after his party was beaten by the right-wing National Rally Party in the European elections on Sunday. And center, liberal, and socialist parties were set to retain a majority, but Eurosceptic nationalists made the biggest gains. So in a risky gamble to re-establish authority, President Macron called the parliamentary election. In response, the euro dropped to its lowest level in a month. France's CAC 40 index fell, with banks among the biggest losers in the index. And the first round of voting will begin on June 30th. If the right-wing National Rally Party wins a majority, then President Macron will have very little to say in domestic affairs. Moving on from that, an activist firm is targeting Southwest's leaders and calling for new ones. So in a letter, Elliott Investment Management revealed that it has nearly a $2 billion stake in the airline, and this would make Elliott one of the largest investors in Southwest. So now the firm is criticizing Southwest leaders, calling them stubborn and unwilling to evolve to the company's strategy. Elliott specifically targeted CEO Bob Jordan and Executive Chairman Gary Kelly. Southwest has struggled to capitalize on post-pandemic travel demand and has been burdened by high costs and growth constraints, and this includes its heavy reliance on Boeing, who has, of course, delayed its aircraft deliveries. And moving on from that, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal from Facebook, and this is related to a massive data breach at the social media company. It centers on how much information was disclosed to investors about damage caused by the breach. Facebook says it was open about the potential harm caused by the Cambridge Analytica data breach. It involved the private information of millions of Facebook users that was obtained by Cambridge Analytica. This is a British consulting firm. Now, in 2019, Facebook agreed to pay just over $5 billion to settle charges with federal regulators over the scandal, but investigators have argued that they didn't disclose enough about the damage caused by the breach. The High Court's decision in the case is expected to begin next year. Okay, I mentioned in the beginning of the show, Nvidia stocks gained some ground today, and this is after its 10-for-1 stock split aimed at luring more retail investors. It has taken effect. Companies often conduct stock splits to make their shares more affordable For investors, Nvidia stock is just only one of 11 companies in the S&P 500 with their share price over $1,000. However, though, Goldman Sachs strategists have said in a note that most recent stock splits have actually not generated a significant increase in retail trading activity. And historically, when we do see a split, there's often a hangover effect afterwards. So, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to see some buyer exhaustion later this week. And as well, happening this week, insurance companies could be tracking how you drive via smartphone apps. That's including how hard you brake, when you drive, your speed. They could know it all. Here's more on that.
Your driving habits may be under surveillance. Some apps, such as weather app MyRadar, parenting app Life 360, and Gas Buddy, let users opt in to features that can collect very specific driving information and send that information to insurance companies. Gas Buddy says its features are meant to improve fuel efficiency. Only if you hit the privacy policy at the bottom of this screen and go through these waves of text do you see what information it collects, and the fact it sends insurance companies this data.
The speed at which you brake, total number of miles driven, times of day driven. They haven't really gone too heavy into average speeds yet, but that will be something that will be coming very soon. The other thing that they do a lot of detection on is phone usage while driving.
Ezra Peterson is a director at Way.com, a car super app that doesn't collect driving data without expressed consumer consent. He says unsafe drivers should be concerned about rate increases.
Drivers that are typically poor behaving drivers that have somehow evaded the normal triggers that would cause rate increases.
Meanwhile, good drivers can benefit from being tracked. Some insurers offer tracking services, which drivers willingly opt into.
It's possible to save up to 30 to 40% versus standard auto insurance rates, but that just depends on, number one, your driving habits, and number two, what your individual insurer offers.
Insurance expert Mark Friedlander says drivers who use these services are saving money and driving more safely because they know what data is being tracked.
Meanwhile, Microsoft and Google will offer free or discounted cybersecurity services to rural hospitals across the United States. And this is a bid for them to make the hospitals less vulnerable to cyber attacks that, by the way, have disrupted patient care and threatened lives here. So Microsoft says it will provide free security updates for eligible rural hospitals and security assessments and training for staff. Google will offer free cybersecurity advice, also going to start a pilot program to match the firm's cybersecurity services with the needs of rural hospitals. Now, the number of cyberware attacks, ransomware attacks as well, against the U.S. health sector has increased by a whopping 128% in 2023. This is compared to the year prior. There are roughly 1,800 rural community hospitals in the United States. They are among the most vulnerable to ransomware attacks due to a lack of resources and trained staff. All right, we're going to take a short break. Coming up, the U.S. unveils a new task force to crack down on illicit e-cigarettes. And this is coming as unauthorized products continue to impact the health of Americans. And child sex trafficking is something pervasive in our world today. There's more children being trafficked today than there were 10 years ago. We speak to someone who is combating the industry when we come back. And thank you very much for staying with us here. Let me just go through some quick headlines with you to keep you as up to date as possible for today. Starting off with offshore rig contractor Noble. It has made an offer for smaller rival Diamond Offshore Drilling, and this would be a cash and stock deal. Now, based on Reuters calculations, Noble will be paying $1.6 billion, and this is the latest merger and acquisition bid in a series of buyouts in the industry. Tesla is one step closer to hitting the accelerator on its full self-driving technology in China. The electric vehicle maker secured an agreement with Chinese tech giant Baidu to upgrade its mapping services, and Baidu will be providing lane-level navigation services for Teslas. An incoming call from Nokia. Its CEO has made a new phone call using a new technology called immersive audio and video. The company said this improves the quality of a call with three-dimensional sound. It makes interactions more lifelike. The US is clearing the air and the market with e-cigarettes. This is an effort to protect young Americans from illegal vaping products. So, the U.S. Justice Department and the Food and Drug Administration have launched a new task force to tackle the sale and distribution of illicit e-cigarettes. And this comes after the FDA sent out more than 1,000 warning letters for selling or distributing unauthorized tobacco products. Of course, that's including e-cigarettes. Now, this warning went to manufacturers as well as importers, distributors, and retailers. To date, the FDA has only authorized the sale of about 24 tobacco-flavored e-cigarette products. A National Youth Tobacco Survey found that overall tobacco use by high school students declined last year, which was driven by the use of e-cigarettes. Now, turning to a very important topic here, child trafficking. And drawing upon the success of the film Sound of Freedom, a new book with the same name is coming out soon. We spoke with author of the book, Paul Hutchinson. In the book, Hutchinson shares the behind-the-scenes stuff that didn't make it into the movie. He also warns that child trafficking is a growing problem that will only get worse. He shares what inspired him to help fund the movie and release the book. In the book, he also gives real-life advice for families to keep their kids safe. Here it is. Paul, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. To start off, your movie, Sound of Freedom, successful, very much so. And now you're coming out with your new book on the movie. So to start off, just tell us about this book.
Absolutely, Don. Well, the movie itself, Sound of Freedom, has a lot of different rescues and a lot of different operators that we put all together into one storyline. There's a lot more that went on behind the scenes. In the jungle rescue was a whole different country, a whole different team, etc. What I did is in the book, The Sound of Freedom. In fact, you can go to soundoffreedombook.com and pre-register for it. It should be out within about a month and a half. And in the book, I take the first 1/3 of it and talk about making an undercover operator. And there's a lot of information in there that families can use to keep your family safe. I go through the details of the things that I learned in hand-to-hand combat and situational awareness, etc., that made me qualified to be able to handle those dangerous situations. And all of those are information that the parents can use to keep your children safe in a dangerous world as well.
And just so that all of us, including our viewers, are on the same page, what is the overall situation right now with the subject matter, child trafficking?
Well, sadly, 10 years ago, when I was sitting on that chair, and they present this little girl, this 11-year-old in front of me, and she's standing up. She's not much taller than I was sitting down, and our eyes connected almost on a level area, and all I could see was fear in her eyes. And I made a commitment to myself, to God, to that little girl, that I was going to dedicate my life to eradicating that evil from the face of the earth. And last year we looked at the numbers, and there's more children being sold today than there was 10 years ago. In fact, there's more than all 300 years of the transatlantic slave trade put together. We sit here and think that slavery disappeared with the time of Abraham Lincoln. No, this is something that is pervasive in our world today, all over the world. And it's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It's the second most profitable, second only to the illegal drugs. And soon it will become the #1 most profitable, because you can sell a bag of cocaine once, you can sell a child 5 or 10 times a day for many, many years. And so it's getting worse, and it's something that we as good adults need to get together and say, what do we need to do to fix this problem?
Wow, very eye-opening here. And speaking of the movie, which talks about this, when you invested in that, did you think about whether your investment would turn a profit? Did you think about that? Did you even know?
I didn't even care. I came from a successful real estate investment background. I'm a co-founder of a company that was called Bridge Loan Capital that morphed into Bridge Investment Group, which when I retired had over $20 billion in assets under management. It's continued to grow since that time. And I know how to make money in that space. I'm not a filmmaker, but I knew that somehow we needed to get that message out to the world. So I volunteered to be the primary investor, the first investor in the film, and we brought on a lot of good families to help fund it after that.
And I understand you're personally trying to do something about this, and I see the words liberating humanity behind you. Tell us what that is.
Well, it's even a bigger picture. The liberatechildren.org is where you can go to find information on the Child Liberation Foundation, but that's just focused on what I call, fighting fire with fire. We're funding organizations that are helping with the rescue missions. I led 70 missions, and I realized that there has to be so much more that can really fix this problem. Just pulling children out of hell wasn't going to fix the problem. We have to raise the global collective consciousness. We have to help humanity break down the addictions and the walls and the divisions that are creating things like child trafficking in the first place. So that's what the bigger picture is. Liberating Humanity helps to host fully immersive transformational healing experiences here in Latin America. It is funding the expansion of what we're doing with the safe houses and the healing retreats around the world. 25% of the profits goes right back into the foundation of everything that we're doing there as well. So it's more of a holistic approach of how do we take away the demand for child trafficking? How do we help heal the divisions between us? How do we break free from this low vibration energy and come right back to our moral standards and the foundations that made this country what we are, and to help heal the world? That's really what Liberating Humanity is about. You can go to liberatinghumanity.com and get lots of information on how to keep your children safe, training courses from my original trainers on things that you can do to keep your kids in an aware position and safe in a dangerous world.
All right, like I said, incredible discussion today. Thank you so much for your time, Paul.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate you.
And if you're interested in watching the full interview of that, just go to ntd.com. We'll put it up today. And that's all. On that note, all the stories we have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have any feedback for the episode, please feel free to let me know. You can email us at business@ntd.com or just leave a comment online. I do read them. And as I always say, business matters. We'll see you tomorrow.